put wine and peeing in the same
You did.
sentence,
You
but
did.
I did. And that's okay. And if you guys don't know what we're talking about bonus content. Become an Apple Podcast subscriber or become one of our subscribers through Ko-fi, through ko-fi.com/storysirens. And yeah, you'll get bonus content where we are completely more unhinged than usual. And that says a lot.
It's really fun. It is really, really fun.
Yes, it is.
So, if that's not enough of an incentive, welcome to Story Sirens.
Yeah.
The podcast where we deep dive into all your favorite myths and legends, and sometimes just absolutely deep dive into existential crises if you are a siren seeker and subscribe to our bonus content. But as we deep dive into our favorite myths and legends, we also like to study those myths and legends that fill us with holiday cheer. My name is Sarah.
And I'm Yenny. And of course, we could not go about the merry month of December without deep diving into this very well-known and beloved Christmas character, which will give you a hint.
He sees you when you're sleeping.
He knows when you're awake.
He knows when you've been bad or good.
So be good for goodness sake, god damn it. It's time to talk about our ho-ho wholesome merry man, Santa Claus. Or should I say, Santa Claus.
Santa Claus.
Sarah, did you ever believe in him? Or did your parents raise you already knowing that he was a fun, fictional character?
Oh, I completely believed in him growing up. And I still do to this day.
Absolutely. I grew up also believing in Santa. My parents definitely used him as a means to make me behave, and it did work.
Oh, for sure. 100%.
We left out Oreo cookies and milk, and my dad would eat them when I was asleep, and it still makes me giggle because, like, I know that he definitely got some heartburn after that. But
that is so cute. That's so cute.
Yeah.
I have I think Santa, quote unquote, because we would leave out the cookies on like paper plates. Santa did leave me a couple of notes saying, "Thank you for the cookies. They were delicious." And as I did get a little bit older, because they were always in cursive, and I was going, that J looks really familiar.
Yeah, Mama does the same one.
Like,
so
wait a minute.
Dad.
Like, you know, here's my dad going, "Oh, I always write in print. My child will never catch on to this." And I'm like, CSI is kicking in.
And that's when we knew we would be great investigators.
Absolutely. But did we pursue that? No, we became podcasters.
Yeah, exactly. There we go. Well, when I found out Santa wasn't real, my mother explained it in such a beautiful way, Sarah. And I kind of wanted to just put it out there because I think I love my mom.
Please do.
She told me that while Santa wasn't real, there was a person who a long, long time ago gave kids presents during Christmas time. And because of his acts of kindness, he lives forever in the hearts of everyone. She also told me that kindness is the real secret to Christmas magic. And there's nothing wrong in believing in Santa even when we're older. Ugh, I love her.
She's so wonderful. That's such a great explanation for Santa.
Yeah, she was really big on like
so
the
lovely.
magic. She was like, there's so much nastiness in the world, and it really is true that during the month of December, everything is just a little bit lighter.
It's a little bit better. And, you know, I love how beautifully your mom described, you know, Santa and the magic of Christmas to you. Because I really do think that, like, that's something that, like, mothers are so good at.
Definitely.
Because, you know, I know you only briefly got to meet my dad at my wedding and everything, but, like, we always joke that he was just a grumpopotamus, a grumpy dude.
Oh.
But, like, he always took so seriously, like, well, his job was setting up the Christmas tree, but he always wanted my mom and I to decorate it while he was at home, even though he'd be like, "Oh, it's too early for Christmas." But, like, he'd watch and he'd have this smirk because, like, my mom would have Christmas music playing and she just, like, made the house so, like, warm and happy. And I remember my childhood home being so magical that, like, even my grumpy dad just, like, was so happy. And my mom was responsible for all that. And it's so lovely.
Oh, shout out to all of our mamas in this podcast because they are amazing. Also, we might be a little bit more sensitive today. We might be a little bit more slurry of our words today. And that is because we are on our glass number 3 of wine. Yeah.
But just so you know, there is a good reason for it. We record these way in advance.
Yes.
And today
has been
is,
a day.
October 8th. And Hurricane Milton is on the way.
Oh, I'm fine, guys. For now, I feel like I'm fine. This might be all a terrible joke by the time this comes out because we don't know where Milton is headed.
This episode will either be aired or you're just going to get an episode of Sarah crying.
No! Sarah! Don't kill me! I'll be fine.
I'm not. You're going to be fine. Everything's going to be fine. It's just stressful.
It is super stressful. So right now we just got word that Milton is again a Category 5. It's hitting Tampa, but it has been veering south. As many of you know, I am from Miami, Florida. So we are a little bit worried, but hopefully we will be okay. And
so we're focusing on things that we love, like Christmas.
Yeah, we're focusing on Christmas in October. That's totally normal. So we'll be fine. We'll be absolutely fine. Anywho, listen, Sarah, my mom wasn't entirely wrong, even though she got some of the facts a little bit.
Oh, about the Christmas magic and kindness and Santa? Of course she's not entirely wrong. Please.
No, not at all.
Mothers know everything.
Yeah, they do. And actually, because they know everything, they know that there was actually a man who went about giving gifts to children. And his name was St. Nicholas.
Oh.
Before we begin, it is important to note that there is no document or proof of St. Nicholas's upbringing. Yet most of the knowledge we do have of him, like many other folk tales, come from traditional tales told by elders.
I mean, there's like a whole documentary about him being raised by very friendly winter elves.
Oh.
And of course, by documentary, I mean the stop-motion film Santa Claus is Coming to Town by Rankin Bass.
Oh, yeah, that is definitely a documentary in my eyes.
Definitely. You watch it every year. I watch it every year. It's a classic.
Yes, we do. It's a classic. So
it creeps my husband out.
Why?
He doesn't like that style of animation. He thinks the Rankin Bass stop-motion Christmas specials are a little creepy just because of how they move. And so, of course, I'm like, I'm watching them nonstop.
I wish people could see my face because I am so distraught and insulted by Jared right now.
Hey, you have his phone number. You can text him your feelings on this matter.
I will tell him afterwards, you suck, okay? Your movements are weird, okay? Don't talk shit about my Kris Kringle. So anywho.
Tell us about Santa, Yenny.
Yes, let's go into, actually, I'm not going to tell you about Santa yet. We're first going to go into St. Nicholas.
Oh, great.
Born in the 3rd century in the village of Patara in Asia Minor, known now as Demre, Turkey, Nicholas was raised in a wealthy home of devout Christians. When he was still young, his parents unfortunately died due to a plague.
Every hero needs a tragedy.
Oh, for sure. That's like that shit bothers me so much, though. My God, Disney cannot have one functional family. One parent has to die, or there's a tragedy with the brother in Big Hero 6. I can't.
Or an entire trauma, following a family in Encanto. Yeah.
Yeah, no. Too much. Anywho, now an orphan, he decided to obey the teachings he was raised by and used all of his inheritance to help aid those who were poor and suffering.
Aww.
And devoted his life to serving God. By the 4th century, Nicholas became a bishop of the city of Myra. Bishop Nicholas quickly became known for his kindness and aid to those in need, for his love of children, and also for his concern and aid of sailors.
Wait, sailors? Okay, I haven't heard that one before. This is cool. Keep going.
Yes, I promise I'll explain it. So, while I did know about him protecting children, I actually, like you, was quite surprised about his concern for sailors.
I'm glad I'm not the only one.
Yeah, no, I was like, what? So, when he was still young, Nicholas decided to go on a pilgrimage to the Holy Lands, which is something many people do. It's actually still practiced today, guys.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we'll get a little bit more into that afterwards. After his pilgrimage, he was returning by sea when a violent storm came threatening the lives of those of the ship. This is not Sinbad. This is not Sinbad.
Or the Odyssey.
Or the Odyssey.
Not Odysseus.
But for some reason, violent storms is a constant theme. While the sailors were frantic, Nicholas calmly prayed for their safety. The sailors were in awe as they saw the winds calm and the storm pass, and the tale of Nicholas saving them became one of the reasons he was seen thereafter as a patron to sailors.
This is so cool!
Oh, absolutely. What is most admirable, though, about Nicholas was throughout his time alive, he did all of his good deeds in secret, never once asking for anything in return.
So he really was paying attention to those biblical teachings he was brought up with, because it does say in the Bible to not brag about the good deeds you're doing. I love this for Nicholas. Yay!
Yeah, and the fact that he did it in secret kind of makes sense later on as we talk about Santa Claus.
Good point.
Yeah, so we'll keep that in our back pocket. So unfortunately, Nicholas would go through a very tough time in his life as Roman Emperor Diocletian began persecuting Christians. Soon enough, Bishop Nicholas was persecuted, imprisoned, and more than likely tortured for his faith, as many others were during this time. He was imprisoned until Constantine the Great began ruling in 325 AD, and he was able to attend the First Council of Nicaea, which was the first meeting of the Christian church held in the city of Nicaea, now known as Iznik, Turkey. Also, I would like to mention, from the time he was incarcerated to the time that Constantine the Great came in, that was like years. So he definitely was there for a while.
He suffered for a long time.
Yeah. But here's the cool part, and this is where I'm like, ooh, St. Nicholas, he got some hands, he throws, all right? Word has it that our very own kind-hearted Nicholas actually smacked a Christian priest named Arius right in the face.
Hey, listen, if St. Paul can spend all this time in chains and in prison and still be devout and sassy in his following, and if St. Peter can cut a man's ear off in the Garden of Gethsemane, then St. Nicholas can slap a man at a church meeting, okay?
Damn, I wonder, do you think it was like a full frontal or was it like a backhand? What do you think? That's a good question. We'll leave that to the commenters.
Comments, let us know. Full front hand or backhand?
Anywho, after the scandalous First Council of Nicaea, Bishop Nicholas continued his life as he did before his imprisonment, faithfully devoting his life to God and protecting children, those in need, and sailors.
I love this man.
He died on December 6, 343 AD, and was buried in his church in Myra. Soon enough, something strange occurred at his burial. Pure water formed in his burial plot, which was said to have healing powers. This, with all his good deeds and growing followers, a century after his death, the bishop was given the title of saint and gave way to St. Nicholas Day, viewed every December 6th in celebration of him.
So cool.
It's so cool. I'm sure there's a documentary out there regarding this, but it is very strange, and we should definitely touch a little bit about this, Sarah, on very strange paranormal, we would say, things that happen in burial plots.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh,
sort of the strange happenings of graveyards.
Yes.
This sounds like a future episode.
Oh, absolutely. So, anywho, his tomb in Myra became part of a pilgrimage for most, but with constant attacks in the area, many were concerned about the safety and access to his tomb. In 1087, Italian sailors took part of his remains to Bari, Italy, which, by the way, when I say took, they kind of stole.
Yeah.
But we're not going to talk about that.
Lucrative grave robbing.
For a quote-unquote purpose. Well, they ended up building a church above his new tomb. Many have journeyed to this new site to honor him. And to this day, the Basilica di San Nicolà is visited by hundreds of thousands of people.
Ooh, that would be a cool trip.
It would. Story sirens. We need to already go to Puglia.
Oh, we do.
Exactly.
We'd be in Italy.
Well, yeah, we're already in Italy. Oh, that's the line. We're already in Italy. Might as well go to Puglia. Anywho, in Europe, St. Nicholas Day is still celebrated and is usually when children receive gifts and treats, all to remind everyone of the good deeds and generosity St. Nicholas gave to children and those in need.
This is such a beautiful tradition.
Absolutely. I think this is so wholesome. One particular tale of St. Nicholas among the hundreds that we have
there are so many.
comes from long ago and centers around a father and his 3 daughters. All of the age and ready to marry, the father was beside himself with grief, as they did not have enough money for a dowry for each daughter, and therefore they were all destined for slavery.
Whoa!
Yeah, this started bad.
I was going to say, that's a jump. And I will say, in other versions of the story, they just go ahead and say outright that they were destined for prostitution if they did not have the dowry. So, yeah, this was a rough time to be alive.
Yeah, you ain't got no money, you're going to have to, yeah.
Ugh,
it's unfortunate.
No,
it's unfortunate.
No, thank you. Nope.
On 3 different occasions, a bag of gold appeared in their home, said to have been tossed through their open window and conveniently landing inside stockings or shoes that had been left to dry near the fire.
Ooh.
Sounds familiar, right?
Right, yes.
News of this ran through the town, the family thanking St. Nicholas for these gifts. But remember, this was in secret. So there was no real way to prove if it really was St. Nicholas, guys. This is what the family said.
This is speculation, purely.
Soon enough, children began setting their own stockings and shoes by the fireplace, hoping that St. Nicholas would throw a present from their windows into their stockings. Again, sounding familiar.
It really is.
Yeah.
It really is. Truth is stranger than fiction.
I know. Isn't it it's so crazy. It's so crazy how it all kind of falls in, because I remember, growing up, I came from a Hispanic household and we didn't know the Santa Claus traditions and stuff. I still, at 30, this is when I found out about the stockings. That was never something
I love
that I
it.
knew. Yeah. So around the early 1600s, after the Protestant Reformation, St. Nicholas Day and people's devotion to him vanished throughout Europe, with only Holland keeping to its traditions, but under a new name, Sinterklaas, a Dutch variant of St. Nicholas. In the 17th century, as Dutch people migrated to New York City, known back then as New Amsterdam, they took with them the tales of Sinterklaas. Now in America, the name Sinterklaas was transformed into Santa Claus.
Ah, I see what you did there.
But what if we told you that Santa Claus, and I'm going to say it right, Santa Claus, may not have just arrived from St. Nicholas?
Oh?
Odin the Allfather, god of war and king of Asgard in Norse mythology, has quite a few characteristics that match that of our holly jolly man. For one, Odin and Mr. Claus look pretty similar. Both are described as elderly men who don a white beard. Although Odin has one eye, while Claus has pretty baby blues. To head off the wild hunt, Odin flew the sky with his trusty 8-legged horse, Sleipnir, pulling his sleigh during the month of December during the time of the Yule festival. As we all know, Santa Claus had 8 reindeers pull his sleigh during Christmas Eve.
I think I'll stick to my jolly old St. Nicholas. Thank you very much, then, Odin, the Allfather of war. But to continue on with this, in some legends, Odin would give gifts of candy and small toys to children who left food out for him. And it was sometimes believed that his sacred ravens would listen at the chimneys of houses to see if children were obedient to their parents.
God of war, but also God of fun.
Right?
There you go. Norse mythology aside, when did Santa Claus become popular in the U.S.? Let's get into it. Yes. Okay, so how we talked about it. While Dutch families came in the 1700s and celebrated St. Nicholas, aka Sinterklaas, a combination of the name St. Nicholas, the man we know now as Santa Claus didn't rise to prominence until the end of the 18th century and didn't become a staple until the 19th century. So a long time passed between this.
So he's a pretty recent figure in our history.
Yeah.
Cool.
Absolutely. And we are going to go kind of as much as we can during the timeline and kind of go through how it is that we went from the 1700s to the 1900s, right? So thanks to wooden carvings of St. Nicholas that were distributed in 1804 and stories of him being published in the History of New York by Washington Irving, people caught wind of the stories of our patron saint for children and the needy. but another decade and a half would pass before St. Nick would come to town.
I see what you did there. So, many of you might not know this, but Christmas was not always a holiday in the United States. And while we won't be doing a deep dive into the origins of Christmas this year, we do want to quickly touch on the subject as it pertains to Santa. Christmas, to our surprise, was looked down upon to celebrate at one point in time. It was celebrated for generations in Great Britain, but in 1645, the Puritan movement claimed that Christmas was a form of hedonistic decadence and should not be celebrated. This belief made its way to the English colonies. In fact, Christmas celebrations were outlawed.
Blasphemy.
Right? Now, come the 1820s, Christmas celebrations had kind of resurfaced, but they had become a bit of a rowdy celebration. They had turned into a big party with lots of drinking and lots of fighting. So people wanted... I know, right? So people wanted to reorient Christmas with traditional Christian values and make it more family-friendly. So St. Nicholas / Santa Claus / Santa Claus made an appearance in the 1821 story, The Children's Friend, which was widely popular with children and their families. And then, thank goodness for Washington Irving, who wrote a fictionalized history of Christmas celebrations in England.
He wrote the book named The Sketchbook of Geoffrey Crayon Gentleman, which was a collection of stories depicting the celebration of Christmas in an English manor house. Irving wrote about how Christmas was about the gathering of people, no matter social status or wealth, and having heartwarming connections.
As it should be. Americans liked the sound of Washington Irving's Christmas traditions, and Christmas was established as a federal holiday in the U.S. in 1870.
Irving's work caught the attention of Americans to begin a new kind of tradition. Many historians actually agree that Irving's writings was the kickstart of bringing Christmas back with a new meaning. It was no surprise that in 1820, just a year after the book's publication, stores began marketing Christmas shopping. With Christmas coming back and St. Nick at the forefront of the tradition, in 1823, a poem was written that would forever change the image of St. Nicholas. Clement Clark Moore, an Episcopal minister, wrote the poem An Account of a Visit from St. Nicholas to entertain his 6 kids during the holidays, stating the inspiration of his version of Santa Claus came from a plump neighbor who he said was of Dutch descent. Huh? Remember, guys?
Yeah,
Dutch
that's
guys
right.
Came in?
Yeah.
So in 1823, the poem was published anonymously in New York's Troy Sentinel. Every year after that, the story was published in multiple newspapers in December. And it took some time, but by 1844, it was no longer anonymous. And soon, Moore began being credited for his work. And if you want some little spice, I did read that Moore actually went through a trial because someone else said that he was not really the creator of this poem.
Ooh.
But you guys can check that out because this is already going to be a long episode. So, you might be asking, what poem is this? Well, we'll give you the first, very famous, few verses.
'Twas the night before Christmas, when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that St. Nicholas would soon be there.
Isn't Sarah soothing? I'm telling you. It's as if she should be a voice actress.
Oh, well.
Sounds familiar, guys, doesn't it? This poem became the blueprint for Santa, as it was where he was first depicted to be flying in the sky with reindeers and bringing toys to children. In later years, the poem would become known for its famous first verse, "'Twas the night before Christmas." 20 years after that, around the 1840s, marketing via newspaper columns started showing off Santa Claus, more than likely pulled from the holly jolly descriptions in Moore's poem. Stores noticed the craze in the column, and soon it became popular to see live Santas around town. But the real treat came in the 1890s, as the Salvation Army took ideas from various stores and had their own live Santa help bring in donations for families in need, which you can still see today in the streets of New York City or in any streets in your town. You'll always see a Salvation Army Santa.
I was going to say, we have them here. And that brings Santa back to his saintly origins.
Yes.
So I'd like to go ahead and step in here and add that the Dutch Santa Claus, as a reminder, a contraction of the words Saint and Nicholas, was traditionally depicted wearing red and white robes. Sound familiar to our modern incarnation of him?
It
then,
does.
Moore describes Santa as wearing red in his 1823 poem. Roughly a century later, Haddon Sundblom took the poem's description of Santa and used that imagery to complement the aesthetic of the Coca-Cola bottle. And Santa appeared in Coca-Cola advertisements all over the country during Christmas time.
Which, just have to put in there, I love the Coca-Cola Christmas commercials.
I love them so much.
Especially the polar bear ones. They make me cry.
They're so cute.
And I want to cry right now because I'm on my third glass of wine, Sarah. So imagine.
Oh, honey, keep it together. We're almost there.
No, we're not, you liar.
All right. So we've been talking a lot about Santa, which would make sense because this is our Santa Claus episode. However, we'd like to include a slight departure from our Santa Claus stories and tell you about another Christmas time gift giver. In the 16th century, during the Protestant Reformation, Martin Luther promoted the idea of a gift bringer who arrived not on December 6th, as we mentioned earlier, but on December 24th.
Ooh, Sarah, real quick. Can I do an ASMR wine glass filling for Noche Buena?
Of course.
To all my Latino Hispanics out there.
Of course.
Real quick, as Sarah did in our bonus content. All right. And that's the fourth glass of wine, y'all.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Aquí se hace fiesta. Here we party. Sarah's regretting asking me to record this video right now.
But you are not, and it's helping you. And we're having a great time.
Milton, fuck you. This is a big fuck you to Milton. All right.
All right. Hold on. Actually, I'm going to.
You're right here.
I am there. Did I get that full sentence out before you had to do your ASMR?
Saucy, aren't we?
In the 16th century, during the Protestant Reformation, Martin Luther promoted the idea of a gift bringer who arrived not on December 6th, as was traditionally celebrated for St. Nicholas Day, but on December 24th. This gift bringer was called Christkindl, literally translating to Christ child, and was described as a childlike or infant-like angel, sometimes believed to be a heavenly angel, and sometimes believed to be an incarnation of Jesus Christ as a baby. Parents would tell their children that the Christkind would not bring presents if the children were still awake trying to see him, so children were sent off to bed. Then, the ringing of a little bell would signal that the Christkind had made his delivery and left the home, and the children could come see the gifts brought to them. In the 19th century, Christkind and St. Nicholas began to deliver their presents together, quote unquote. Today, Christkind is a prominent Christmas figure in parts of Germany, Austria, Switzerland, southern Brazil, portions of Latin America, and more. Ironically, Christkind has become closely tied with Catholic traditions. Martin Luther tried. In France, Père Noël is the traditional Christmas gift bringer. Legend says that if children left carrots in their shoes on Christmas Eve, we're not going to talk about how we got to this point. That's just the tradition. Père Noël would give the carrots to his donkey, Mistletoe, and then place little gifts in the shoes for the children.
Santa has a donkey? Are you sure it wasn't Shrek? But also, I do want to bring up, I love every time I hear the donkey. For all my Hispanic, my Latinos out there, we all know about it. con mi burrito sabanero en Neverland. I know the song, but I'm a little drunk. So I would say.
I was about to say, it's burrito. It's little donkey. It's burrito.
Yeah, burrito. And then they would be like, tuki, 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 tuki. Tuki, 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 ta. Apúrate, mi burrito, que ya vamos a llegar. And it was like, the whole song is about the donkey taking, I think,
Mary to Bethlehem?
Yeah.
Listen,
that donkey did work. I'm telling you.
That donkey did work, but also he was doing good work because it was a pregnant lady. Also, I'm thinking about the song Dominic the Christmas Donkey. Listen, donkeys have their place in this story. So,
yes,
anyway,
they do.
We are not talking about beasts of burden in this Christmas episode. We are talking about gift givers. So,
okay.
In Iceland, there are the 13 Yule lads. While they are sometimes compared to Santa due to their beards and Christmas time appearances, they are nowhere near as saintly or patient as St. Nicholas. They're pranksters.
The audacity.
They are the children of the giantess Gria and her husband Lapaloi. If I'm mispronouncing this, I apologize. And these figures are also the owners of the Yule Cat. And again, we will cover all of these figures in a different episode.
Yeah.
One Yule lad appears each night for the 13 nights leading up to Christmas. If the child they visit has been good, they will leave a small toy or treat for them. If the child has been bad, they leave behind a rotten potato.
As they should, because if you're a bad kid, you're a rotten potato. I believe it. Now, Sarah, back to Santa Claus.
You're right. So, we have a few extra fun facts for Santa Claus. Sinterklaas was often accompanied in his stories by a man named Black Pete or Sooty Pete. Sooty Pete was described as being dressed in fine clothing, a feathered cap, and carrying a bag of candy for good children and a chimney-sweeping broom to spank bad children. Oh, and of course his face and clothing were covered in chimney soot. His appearance alongside Sinterklaas has been the subject of some debate, as many have claimed the character is based on unflattering Moorish stereotypes. Still, others have tried to salvage the character by stating he helps the often absent-minded Sinterklaas stay on task by wrapping presents for him, climbing through chimneys with the presents, and doing all sorts of tasks so that Sinterklaas doesn't hurt himself. And all in all, keeping the jolly man on schedule for gift giving and making appearances at festivals.
In my eyes, he's necessary.
He is necessary.
He's very necessary. Did you all know also that Santa Claus's reindeers are girlies?
Ooh.
Yeah, guys. Both male and female reindeer grow antlers, but the bulls, which are the male deers, shed theirs after November mating season. Does usually shed their antlers during the spring as they prepare to give birth. Yes, queen, give birth to that baby. So, during December, only the females have their antlers. Those boss babes. Also, our dear Washington Irving is the one who introduced Santa diving down the chimney in his 1812 Knickerbocker's History of New York, just as our friend Clement Clark Moore introduced us to Santa's reindeers.
I love this. So, I have noticed we have not mentioned Mrs. Claus once during this entire episode.
Oh, that poor girl.
I know, shame on us. However, she is a bit of a later addition. Santa Claus was a bachelor until 1849, when James Reese mentioned Santa's wife in his story, A Christmas Legend. But he didn't go into much detail about her. But then, Catherine Lee Bates wrote a poem about Mrs. Claus in the 1880s. In the story, Mrs. Claus teases Santa for taking all the credit for the Christmas work and says she should come with him to help deliver gifts. The public fell in love with her, and she was included in Santa's legend from that point onward. We'll include the poem, Goody Santa Claus on a Sleigh Ride, in the show notes.
I feel bad for Mrs. Claus.
Mm-hmm.
Mrs. Claus, we love you in this podcast. We'll do a bonus content episode just about Mrs. Claus. How about that?
We'll do it.
We'll do it. So, in 1827, the U.S. government issued Santa Claus his official pilot's license.
I
Isn't
love
that crazy?
this.
So here's a little bit of a spicy take on Santa Claus. In 1929, the dictator Joseph Stalin banned Santa Claus and Christmas in the Soviet Union.
Yenny, pause.
This was part...
Yenny,
Yes.
Yenny, pause. You said spicy. I was hoping for something a little bit more fun, and instead you gave me the spice you put into a fruitcake, which nobody wants. Please continue.
Oh, come on. Give me a second. It does get spicy.
Okay, fine.
This was part of his plan to purge all religious iconography and celebration because he's a stickler and we don't like him. And religion as a whole, in general, from the Soviet Union. But you can't stop the miracle of Christmas, Sarah. You just can't.
You're right.
And people were celebrating in secret. That's where the spice comes.
Good for them.
Yeah, so much so that soon enough, Stalin couldn't do anything about it. Christmas returned in the 90s. Well, actually, he died afterwards.
I was going to say, he's dead at this point, so of course he can't do anything about it. But yay,
yeah.
It came back.
Yeah. There you go, payback. You may remember us mentioning this in our Sneguroshka episode.
In 1881, the political cartoonist Thomas Nast, the man responsible for assigning the elephant and donkey to the United States Republican and Democrat political parties, respectively, drew an iconic image of Santa Claus for the newspapers that has since become the blueprint for how we view him today. Nast drew a happy and fat old man, smoking a pipe and wearing a fur-trimmed hat, smiling kindly at the viewer as he cradles several toys in the crook of his arm. We'll include the image in the show notes. It really is a delightful image.
It really is. And Nast was also responsible for popularizing the tradition of mailing letters to Santa.
Aww.
I know. You know what? Even at this age, we have Santa's Enchanted Forest, which is like a big thing.
Yes.
Here in Miami.
Yes, we have those, yeah.
Oh, you do?
Or it's like light villages where you go to see Santa and you see his workshop. I love them.
Well, Santa's Enchanted Forest in Miami is actually, it's now in Hialeah. Y'all know what I'm talking about. It's actually like a whole theme park that they do.
Oh, I misunderstood. I'm sorry. That was my bad.
Yeah, it's like a big thing every year. It's super fun. You always know it's coming around when you start getting the little commercials going, Santa's Enchanted Forest, rides, toys, activities.
I love it.
And it's like a staple here. And they always have at the beginning Santa's mailbox where you sign, you do a little note and then you put it in. And every time I go with my niece and nephew, of course, Tia Yenny also does her Santa letter.
Of course.
But coming back to Nast, in an 1871 issue of Harper's Weekly, an illustration by Nast was featured showing Santa sitting at his desk with a giant pile of letters from good children stacked in front of him. And in 1886, Nast let children know where to send their letters with his illustration, Santa Clausville, North Pole. And, while we're at it, Santa Claus has appeared in almost every single Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade since 1924. As he should be, but Mrs. Claus should be next to him.
Of course. Well, and I'm just thinking that's 100 years of Macy's Thanksgiving Day parades now. Oh my gosh.
Holy shit, you're right.
Right? So, our last fun fact is going to be about the tradition of leaving milk and cookies. So, that tradition, and sometimes the tradition of leaving carrots out for the reindeer, began in the United States during the Great Depression. It was a way for parents to teach their children to be grateful and generous, even during hardships. In Sweden, rice porridge is left out for Santa, and in the United Kingdom, glasses of sherry and mince pie are left out. And of course, in Ireland, it's tradition to set out a pint of Guinness for Santa Claus. And this is why Goody Santa Claus goes for a sleigh ride. Mrs. Claus mentions to Santa that he's just sitting around getting fat as he delivers his gifts, and that's why he needs a helper.
Oh, there you go. She's spitting the truth. Let's go into modern media. 1970s Santa Claus is Coming to Town,
yes!
Y'all. A classic. A stop-motion film that is near and dear to both of our hearts. I used to watch this movie alongside all other Christmas-related stop-motion films, plus regular animated films and live-action films, with my sister underneath her Tinkerbell blanket, which now my niece uses when we were
This
younger.
is so cute.
Yeah. Shout out to my
Oh
sister.
my
Yessie,
gosh,
I love
I
you
love
so
it.
much. ABC Family's 25 Days of Christmas, anyone? Come on
Every
now.
single year.
Yes, queen. The Santa Claus 1 to 3, starring Tim Allen, which I did tell Sarah when you're in your 30s, Tim Allen in the first Santa Claus is actually kind of hot.
He's very cute.
So that's when you know you've grown.
Yeah. It's a change. You go from like loving the head elf to all of a sudden you're like, oh, Tim Allen?
Bernard.
Bernard, yeah.
Yeah, Bernardo.
Bernardo's different.
Bernardo was killed
By El Coco.
By El Coco, that's right. All 3 films were magical, though the first one is totally a classic. We loved it. Tim Allen really is the millennial Santa Claus.
Oh my gosh.
For sure.
Oh my gosh. I will say, I absolutely agree with you. I am personally partial to the second film myself. I thought the romance in it was so sweet. And also, I mentioned to Yenny off mic that I remember my mom taking me to see that movie when I was a kid. And the scene where Tim Allen's Santa Claus starts delivering all the toys to the business people who, you know, are grown up and too mature for it. They all start unwrapping these toys and they're going, oh, I always wanted this. Oh, I wanted this and my parents never got it for me. It was so sweet seeing my mom going, oh, I remember that toy. I had that. Or, oh, my sisters had that. Oh, my sisters would fight over that. Oh, that was such a fun toy. And it was sort of the first time that I got to, because I was a kid when that movie came out, it was one of the first times I really got to see my mom as like a child at Christmas and just kind of seeing her eyes light up. I was like, oh, I really like this movie.
Oh, it was such a beautiful movie. Aside from Santa Claus, we also have a newer movie that has come out called
Which is so good.
Netflix's, yes, Sarah.
Sorry!
Which is called Netflix's Klaus. Another twist of how Santa Claus came to be. But guys, get your tissue boxes ready because it very much is a tearjerker ending.
This film is mandatory viewing in my household every Christmas. And y'all would think I'm the one saying like, oh, we have to watch this because I'm the holiday fanatic. But no, it's my husband. He's like,
Jared.
Sarah, can we? And also like, here's what I love. My husband is not overly sentimental. My husband like doesn't like sweets or anything, but he's like, Sarah, can we make cinnamon rolls and a pot of coffee and just watch Klaus? And I'm like, yes. And then of course at the end of the movie.
Quick.
What?
Stop real quick. We are actually married to the same like person, but one is Chinese and the other one is American.
Absolutely.
Because Alex is the same way. Alex and Jared get along so well.
They love each
They're
other.
the same person. They're not very like, you know, like they show emotion, but it's a little different.
Yeah.
And
they frustrate us
same
sometimes
way.
with how they show emotion where we're like, no!
Yes.
Make it more over to the top, and then that's our job.
Alex does the same thing every Christmas. We have to watch Anastasia. That's
I love
Alex's
Anastasia.
favorite.
Jared also loves Anastasia. Jared wishes Don Bluth would come back because he's like, but Anastasia.
Oh, yeah. Guys, we promise at least one Christmas. No, more than one Christmas. Sarah and Yenny Christmas special will happen in the same household someday soon.
That'd be so fun.
Sure.
I'd love that. I love that so much.
I'd love that.
But yes, also, here, side note. When Alex watches Klaus, towards the end, does he get like real misty-eyed and just be like...
Oh, he does.
If you haven't seen Klaus, there is a particular scene. If you have seen Klaus, you know what scene that is. Yenny knows. But if I turn to look at Jared, Jared will go, don't look at me. Don't look at me.
Don't look at me.
Don't look at me right now. It's very sweet. It is it's a beautiful movie. I feel like we've gone too far into Klaus. So... one of my favorite Santas ever portrayed on film, other than Klaus, is in the 1959 Twilight Zone episode, Night of the Meek. In this episode, a drunk department store Santa finds a magical bag of toys on Christmas Eve and makes it his mission to spread Christmas joy. If you don't mind watching something in black and white, it is one of the sweetest depictions of Santa Claus I have ever seen. If you do mind watching something in black and white, get over it. It's less than 30 minutes, and it will melt your icy little Grinch heart.
Gremlin heart?
Not gremlin, Grinch.
We don't talk about the Grinch this time around. We will another time, but
Next
the Grinch
year?
is also great.
I love that
Yeah, next year. So we also wanted to talk about the Polar Express. While not completely Santa-centric, the scene where our hero boy meets Santa is just so darn magical.
It's so sweet.
Yes, we cannot end this episode without talking about that specific scene. And it reminds me of what my mother told me, that it's all about the magic of Christmas.
You know what's funny is before I saw that you had mentioned this in the script, I thought of that when I was reading how your mom described Santa to you.
Yeah.
It's so sweet. So, because we just can't end this episode, we're also going to mention the fact that it might just be me because no one else seems to remember it. So maybe it was a hot chocolate-induced fever dream for me, but I remember as a small child loving the animated film The Life and Adventures of Santa Claus. It starred Robbie Benson, who was the voice of the Beast from Disney's Beauty and the Beast, Jim Cummings, a.k.a. the voice of our entire childhood, and Dixie Carter, Julia Sugarbaker from Designing Women. I don't remember a ton about the movie, but I remember it showed Santa Claus as a young man and how he was trying to take care of little children, and then how he became a magical entity. It was a sweet movie. I remember absolutely being in love with it.
You know, I'm looking at it now, and it does look very familiar. It's also a stop-motion film.
No.
No?
Excuse me. This film is from 2000. It is 2D animation. Again.
Nope, never seen it.
I haven't seen a bunch of people who remember this film. It was a bit of a fever dream for me. And I can't attest as to whether or not it was a good movie, but as a small child, I loved it. Honey?
Holy shit. Yes, I do know this movie, Sarah. Because of the elf.
The elf!
Because of that elf thing that has like a tail, and I was like, why the fuck does this elf have a tail?
And also, I remember for a fact, because like when my mom was moving out of my childhood house and everything and closing it up, she gave me a box of like drawings I had, and I found a picture of a fairy I drew who had like the same leaf crown as like the nymph in that movie.
Oh my God. Sarah, I swear to God, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yes.
Hey, Yenny.
I love this.
Yenny. Story Sirens watch party.
We have to do one. Very soon, guys. Very soon. We will do a Twitch watch party. Yes.
All right. And then finally, we will include Miracle on 34th Street, the beloved Christmas movie. Which one, you might ask? Both! The 1947 classic and the 1994 remake make the rounds on cable television every year and through the homes of so many people every year. And honestly, why choose a favorite? They both leave you feeling warm and cozy and full of Christmas spirit.
Absolutely. And although we did not put it on the scripts, I have to bring it out. Every year, I watch all of those god-awful, terrible Hallmark Christmas movies. I want to see for the 50th time in a row the girl come into the village and be in love with the lumberjack who ends up being somehow tied to Santa Claus, or it's a Christmas miracle. I love it.
Yes!
I have to inject the Hallmark movies into my veins at least once a year.
My mother, my
good.
mother-in-law, and I all do that. Like, we turn them on in the back while we're wrapping gifts because you already know the plot of the movie. And my husband hates it. My father used to hate it. And it brings me joy to make them suffer. However, Yenny, may I have a shameless plug here?
Yes, you can.
Because I think you will love this. Folks,
Tell me.
If any of you are fans of the horror anthology podcast, the No Sleep podcast.
Oh, here we go. Shameless plug-in.
Yeah, I already asked you if I had permission. If
you did.
You are willing to spend the money for the No Sleep podcast Christmas 2020 bonus, you will have the hour-and-a-half-long episode, A Christmas at Pine Grove, which is a spoof of all of the Hallmark tropes with a horror twist, and yours truly as the starring character, Holly.
Ooh, I gotta listen to that.
It's a great episode to haunt your dreams as you're wrapping Christmas gifts, especially if you're a Hallmark lover like we are. So, folks, we have spoken so much tonight. You're probably tired of listening to
Wait,
us.
Sarah.
Yes, honey love.
One more.
One more
Christmas.
Yes, one
more
more.
Christmas. It has nothing to do with Santa Claus.
No,
but
which one is it?
2007's Holiday in Handcuffs with Melissa Joan Hart and Mario Lopez.
I love that movie.
The best ABC Family / Hallmark / oh my God, love seeing Mario Lopez without a shirt on.
It's so obscene. It's so strange.
And it's so good.
I love that movie. I deeply adore that movie. Also, if you're one of those people who hates those kind of movies, watch the Nostalgia Critic review of it on YouTube because he absolutely blasts that movie. I love Nostalgia Critic. We don't always see eye to eye. He doesn't even know I exist. But it is fun. I showed that review to Jared one time, and he was like, Sarah, this sounds like a horrible movie. And I'm sitting there going, I love this movie so much. It's so good.
I love this movie. This movie is classic.
Maybe that's our watch party
All right,
movie.
Sarah.
Okay. Yes, Yenny.
Come on now. Siren call.
Siren call. You're right. Oh, my gosh. We have one of those. We gave them so much to work with, Yenny. So
I know.
Your siren call is to take any of the films or stories that we mentioned, watch them, imbibe them, listen to them, interact with us on our Discord, or just go ahead and read 'Twas the Night Before Christmas to enjoy some very traditional holiday magic. Have some cookies, have some milk or hot cocoa, tea, whatever, and just go with it. But don't forget to leave some cookies and beverage out for Santa Claus.
Also, if you're into audiobooks, A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens, specifically performed by Hugh Grant.
Oh, I love it.
Is such a nostalgic story to listen to. And it's only 2 hours long. Play it in the background while you wrap gifts or enjoy some cozy cuddles with your loved ones.
Folks, may your Christmas be merry, your holiday season be cheery, your home be cozy, and we will see you next week.
And for my Latinos, get drunk on Noche Buena. What's up? Okay, bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Story Sirens. You can follow us on Instagram at Story Sirens Podcast. Want to support us? Send us a cup of Ko-fi by searching ko-fi.com/Story Sirens. We've got lots of treats for those who become siren seekers. All research materials can be found in the episode summary. Music by Donald Guzzi and artwork by Alexis Torres. Story Sirens is a Feather and Fin production. See you soon.